Only the third man was left. There was nothing I could do.
You sure about that?
Nothing aside from breaking into the Gestapo prison and serving him with cyanide. Who would want anything else in such a situation?
Well, he may want to rescue Violette.
There's nothing to lose when everything is already lost. The city was swarming with soldiers.
Well, I'm sure we'll fix that.
Immediately after I left the sewers, I saw the face of death. A mixture of madness and despair.
I'm fairly certain that was a mirror. Despite Violette's exposition, we begin the level in the sewers, if only for a brief moment. That guy does not look like he's having a good day. But I don't think he'll be using this morphine, so we'll just go ahead and appropriate that. We can see the shadow of a soldier approaching in the corner, so we'll stay here until he heads out to inspect the nearby corpse. To our left is a pocket flask that I do not, frankly, want to know the previous owner of. And this next ladder well brings us out of the sewers and into the ghetto.
I felt ill as I left the sewers, and saw an even greater evil. I was in the middle of the ghetto, or what was left of it. It was more like a ghost town. I had to carry on, find a way to the Gestapo prison.
I don't know that I'd actually classify the sewers as evil. Certainly unpleasant, but not evil.
Das hättest du sehen müssen. Aber das Beste war, was der Anführer gemacht hat. Er hat sich selbst mit einer Handgranate in die Luft gesprengt.
Schade, dass sie das nicht immer tun.
Schön wär's.
Was mich nervt, sind die Sesselfurzer im Hauptamt. Die sind sowas von unfähig, die kriegen nix fertig. Alles musst du selber machen.
Ha. Stell dir vor, die müssten hier die Drecksarbeit machen. So wie wir. Die würden sofort zusammenklappen.
Ha! Die haben doch noch nie richtig arbeiten müssen. Scheiß Bürokraten.
Was willst du machen? Ändern kannst du daran doch eh nix. Deswegen sind wir ja hier.
Wird auch Zeit, dass hier mal einer den Dreckstall aufräumt. Was hier für ein Pack rumläuft, ist echt unglaublich.
Naja, in ein paar Jahren kannst du hier schön leben.
Wenn du dann noch lebst?
Jo, wer weiß.
Weißt du was? Ich hätte jetzt Lust auf einen Schluck Eierlikör. Wie sieht's aus?
Nicht jetzt. Warte noch, bis Schluss ist. Wir sehen uns.
These two are likely discussing Ayer Cognac, a Polish egg liqueur based on vodka. Unfortunately for him, he won't get the chance to drink on the job. We'll cram him back in the corner and wait for the other conversationalist to loop back around. Meanwhile, it looks like our color palette has swapped back to yellow again. It's been a while. Much more cheerful than gray, or at least it would be if it weren't, you know, Ghetto being purged by Nazis. And before we move to take out the smoking Nazi behind this building, we'll take a quick detour to the roof of this shack. There's a medkit we don't need, and probably the most appropriate Edelweiss badge we're going to find in the entire game, being several feet off the ground. This soldier doesn't patrol, so he's absolutely no problem to wipe out. He's here as more of a deterrent. If you alert any of the previous guards, they'll bring down not only this one, but the next two as well. Looks like the silenced Colt is a popular Polish resistance weapon, which is good for us, as I get the feeling I may end up needing a quieter pistol later in the mission.
Ausgezeichnet, Thomsen. Männer wie Sie brauchen wir hier.
Jawohl, Herr Untersturmführer.
Once this Untersturmführer finishes staring at the wall, he'll circle back around and come towards us. I can't move forward without alerting them, due to the glass strewn across the ground between these two waist-high walls. It's best to get used to the corpses in this level. You're going to be seeing a lot of them. Replay really wanted to drive home just where we are. I'll go ahead and drag this fella back a bit, and then whistle Thompson over. By using the body as bait, we should get him to come out far enough to remove the glass as an obstacle.
Oh nein. Scheiße!
That's the last of them for this area, so I can go ahead and run into the next. This is probably the first mission where the Nazis' fortification fetish actually makes sense, but that doesn't mean it would be any easier to get these trucks here. We're gonna have to wait for the closest guard to move past before I whistle the next over, otherwise we might accidentally grab the wrong one and cut out a conversation.
Was zum Teufel?
All of the guards kind of have an annoying tendency to stay right on the edge of the darkness, which means a second whistle to get them out of view.
Hey Franz, gehört? Erich hat eine Parabellum geschickt. Werft das Pack einfach auf seine Leistung an der Front. Ehrlich? Jawohl. Meines Stück diese Waffe.
Ist da wer?
The part of the conversation you're missing pertains to the Parabellum not being suitable for a large army.
Unübertroffen. Und sie ist mit Abstand die schönste Handwaffe.
Ach, die ist nur was für Liebhaber. Damit kannst du keine große Armee ausrüsten.
Aber damit kannst du wunderbar Hasen jagen. Wir lassen 7 Gefangene laufen und zählen bis 10. Jeder hat nur 7 Schuss. Wer damit nicht alle Hasen erledigt, hat verloren.
Einverstanden. Sagen wir, der Verlierer zahlt einen Kasten Bier. Aber wir benutzen beide genau die gleiche Waffe. Nicht, dass du mich übers Ohr haust.
Keine Sorge. Das machen wir alles ganz sauber und anständig. In Russland haben wir oft Hasenjagd gespielt. Das ist ein Heidenspaß.
Alles klar. Dann treffen wir uns nachher an der Sammelstelle. Nehmen uns ein paar mit.
Abgemacht.
I prefer fishing over rabbit hunting. You set off one grenade and they all float to the surface. There's another vial of morphine, and during the interim I've upgraded our stat once again, so we're now able to hold 3, which is, frankly, an absurd amount of overkill. This may be the most sheds we've seen to date. Up ahead is a new weapon, which just so happens to be my favorite, the Gewehr 43 sniper rifle. With no ammo.
Na, Schäfer?
Alles Schmarotzer, Herr Untersturmführer. Die stellen sich aus Faulheit dumm, damit sie nicht arbeiten müssen.
Richtig. Denen geht's viel zu gut. Wir haben ihnen Arbeit und Brot gegeben. Und was haben wir zum Dank bekommen? Einen Aufstand. Die werden schon sehen, was sie davon haben. Wir sind hier nicht beim Winterhilfswerk. Aber das werden die schon noch merken. Wir waren es bestimmt 9 Züge voll.
Ich nehme an, da wo sie hinkommen, werden sie erstmal richtig erzogen.
Ja, aber das wird eine Weile dauern, bis die gesellschaftsfähig sind.
Naja, wer gehorcht und hart ab.
Und wer nicht pariert, der fängt sich Prügel. Halten Sie die Augen offen, Schäfer. Wer weiß, was hier noch so alles rumläuft.
Jawohl, Herr Untersturmführer.
Well, I know exactly what else is creeping around here. I apologize in advance for this next spot, but there's no way to see around this wall any better without exposing yourself to view. From here, we will be able to see the officer wander back by and turn around, at which point it'll be time to strike.
One thing she don't need is another hungry mouth to feed in the ghetto.
It's possible to take that guard down without using morphine, but it's a crapshoot with how the officer falls. Easier to just use the morphine, particularly since it showed off a new, brutal kill animation. Looting yet another corpse, we find a key that unlocks the shed, and inside we will find a letter, and some ammo for our new rifle, along with a silver Luger. Seems I don't get to stop carrying one for long. There's a vial of morphine across the way that I can pick up to replace the one we've just used, and the final shed contains a flak vest. Since we're already wearing one, and I'm already not using that one, we won't be needing a second. I'll head directly up this ladder and cross into another section.
Sie sind alle tot. Ich war in Hamburg, um sie zu finden. Ich wusste ja, dass die Tommies so ziemlich alles in Grund und Boden gebombt haben. Aber das, aber nichts mehr. Gar nichts. Sah alles ziemlich scheiße aus. So wie du.
He is, of course, talking about Operation Gomorrah, the bombing raid on Hamburg that we helped instigate. I'd imagine the dead there were a little bit less riddled with bullet holes, but I don't think he'd appreciate my pointing that out. Nothing more to see here, but beyond the next door is the main thoroughfare, a much more open area than we're used to. There is, surprisingly, a very good reason for this.
Death flashed down from a window. Snipers.
Crazy responded in kind. Violette. Yep, they gave us this sniper rifle for a reason. Well, a reason beyond giving Violette an excuse to bash people in the head with it. Realistically, that's going to happen with anything you give to her. Of course, this thing isn't silenced in the slightest, so offing that sniper brings another 2 guards running. Well, power walking at least. Ah, there he is. We'll just have to whistle him over.
Was war das, verdammt?
You'd think they'd be more cautious, considering that they just heard gunfire. The more ambitious soldier dealt with, we're going to have to jump across to the other side of the street to nab his more cautious partner. Meanwhile, it's a good thing for the Germans that Polish people really love couches, otherwise they'd never have been able to blockade this street. So long as you don't try to catch up to him, this guard is an easy kill. When he gets closer, he'll head towards the center of the street and provide a simple target. You'd think there would be a collectible somewhere around here, but it's devoid of anything but glass and furniture, so we can dart right along to the barricade in the distance. This sort of structure would have been used as a checkpoint for the ghetto, helping to funnel all traffic through as few locations as possible. We're going to have to step right over this dead kid to avoid detection. At least he won't mind. I know Violette won't. There are an additional 2 guards in this building ahead, designed to be sniper targets. There's a large courtyard between us and them, so it's more feasible to shoot them from here than to try to cross for silent kills. I think even the Nazis would notice us then. Which is not to say they try to take cover when they hear a rifle going off, but you can really only give them so much credit. The building has a commanding view of the area around it, so honestly it is a pretty decent sniper's nest, but those 2 were anything but decent snipers.
That had to be it. I was certain he was here.
I know the Gestapo liked prisons, but I doubt they'd build more than one inside of a single ghetto, so Violette's probably correct here. No matter how hard that kid tries, he'll never be half as creepy as Violette. There are 3 guards in this section currently, and we can see a decent chain of events that should bring them all straight to me at the back of this truck. The first is easy enough. His patrol passes right by. The second can be attracted with a whistle, and as soon as he sees his compatriot with crushed testicles and a bullet hole in the back of his head, he should rush right by us. Now, all of that commotion has hopefully attracted the officer that usually stands at the end of this area. Usually, I'd have no problem killing him silently, but this mission has an extremely odd secret objective. There are an additional 2 guards that will only spawn if you alert one of these 3, so I'm going to have to expose myself to him and make some noise.
Nächstes Mal finde ich dich.
I realize Violette is a woman, and this is 1940s Europe, but I still don't think the response would be to blow a whistle when she points a rifle at you. If all went according to plan, an additional 2 Nazis have spawned in the final area and should come running at the sound of that guy's whistle. Here's one, and I can only assume that the last guard is still waiting behind that door. I don't think he's going to be doing much patrolling, so morphine it is.
Crowd gathers round an angry young man face down in the street with a gun in his hand.
I mentioned in the thread that there are several crotch-targeting kill animations. I believe that one was the femoral artery. There's our errant Nazi. Seems he wasn't particularly alerted by the sound of gunfire and dying soldiers.
I couldn't stop all of these criminals, but these ones here would never do anything to anyone again.
Not true. They're going to severely inconvenience whoever has to clean up after us. Killing all of the guards in the mission will also net us that secret objective I mentioned. Looks as though the prison has a rather spacious ventilation system, which we'll see the other end of next time.